For 2023, Honda have come out with an updated Transalp. So they finished production of the original Transalp, finished selling it in 2012. So we haven't seen a new iteration of the Transalp since 2012. Of course, we've had a new model of the Africa Twin, came out in 2016, 2015, 16. Now the Transalp for 2023 is back. So I'm going to go into some of the specs of the brand new Transalp, what I think of it, and comparing it to bikes in its competition really, and see how it sort of stacks up next to them, like the Yamaha T7 World Raid and the new Aprilia Tuareg 660. See how it stacks up against them, find out what the new Transalp 750 is all about. Right, getting into the specs, let's start off with the engine for the new Transalp 750. The clue's in the name, you guessed it. It's actually a brand new parallel twin, a 755cc parallel twin with a 270-degree crank on it. So that 270-degree crank is sort of mimicking a V-twin really, the feel and character of a V-twin, but then by having a parallel you get the benefits of the parallel twin. So slightly more compact engine, more economical, cheaper to use, and lighter, etc. So the best of both worlds with that 270-degree crank. So she's putting out 92 horsepower and 75 Newton meters of torque. So if we compare that to competition like the T7 World Raid, Tuareg 660, it's up on power figures to those two bikes. So straight off the bat, thumbs up to that. I think that sounds really nice. It's a middleweight adventure bike in that middleweight class, but power-wise, I think this new parallel twin from Honda, which is actually also being used in their new Hornet, the naked sports bike, different type of bike, but same engine. Yeah, like the sound of those power figures. Little lower than the Honda Africa Twin, but that's not too much of a bad thing. There's other benefits to this bike that contribute to having less power, less weight, etc. So yeah, engine, can't wait to ride it. I think it sounds like a really, really nice new parallel twin. Alright, onto the suspension quickly, just the stats for it. So up front we've got Showa 43mm upside down forks with 200mm of travel. On the rear, again we have a Showa monoshock with 190mm of travel. Now adjustability on the suspension, you have preload adjustability for the front and the rear. If you're planning on carrying a pillion or loading up with luggage on the back, the Transalp does come with options for nice hard luggage, side panniers and a top case. Then you've got the preload you can adjust there just to sort of raise and lower the suspension, just make it more compatible with carrying more weight, etc. on those longer trips. Now a thing to note possibly on that suspension is all sounds fine, but there's less travel than its competition. If you're looking at the T7 or the T7 World Raid again, or the Aprilia 660, or even the Africa Twin, the Honda Africa Twin, you've got less travel on that suspension. The bike's still very much geared to off-roading, capabilities for off-roading, but yeah, with that less travel suspension, may want to bear that in mind if you're thinking of doing some serious off-roading. Of course, longer travel suspension means just generally better for rough riding, off-roading. Onto the brakes, onto the stopping power. You've got two 310mm discs up front with a 2-piston caliper. On the rear, you have a single 256mm disc with a 1-piston caliper. Now on the front, you may think, okay, so 2-piston caliper, why not bang a 4-piston on there? I think they've done this intentionally, Honda, because this bike is going to be used on the road for longer touring, etc., but it's also geared to off-roading. I must admit, I'm not a massively experienced off-roader, but knowing motorbikes a bit, when you're off-road, you don't want too sharp, grabby front brakes. So I think by going with a 2-piston caliper up front, you can feel it when you're riding in the bike. So just a slightly softer feel to those front brakes. So if you do yank on them by accident off-road, you're less likely to lock up that front wheel and it slide out from underneath you. So yeah, I think that's a tactical move from Honda with the brakes there. Moving on to the wheels. You have a 21-inch wheel up front and an 18-inch on rear, so very much biased towards off-roading, similar to the competition and to the Honda Africa Twin really. It's the same wheel dimensions on both of those bikes. Okay, what about the fuel tank, I can hear you asking? Well, it's a 17 litre fuel tank, so pretty similar to its competition. The Aprilia 660 has an 18 litre tank, whereas if you go to the T7, the T7 World Raid actually has a 23 litre fuel tank. So that's a fair bit higher, but I think for this style of bike, to keep the weight down, to keep the weight lighter, 17 litre tank is a nice compromise to give you enough range, but at the same time not having too much of that bulk, that heavier liquid fuel on top of the motorcycle. So the seat height, you're getting an 850mm seat height, not the highest in its class. For off-roading, you tend to have higher seat heights when you get to the off-roading bias bikes, but 850, yeah, sounds nice, sounds good for on-road and off-road, a nice balance. A pretty important factor with this style of bike, weight. So the wet weight of the new Transalp is 208 kilograms. Compare that to competition, the Tuareg is 204 kilograms, and the T7 World Raid is 220 kilograms. Now that extra on the Yamaha is a lot down to that bigger tank, the 23 litre tank up top there. To put into perspective, excuse me, the 208 kilogram wet weight, if you compare that to the Africa Twin, we could call it its bigger brother, the Transalp's bigger brother, weighs wet weight 226 kilograms. Actually, quite an impressive weight for this Transalp. I think that's nice. It should help it feel quite nimble, nice and nimble on and off-road, and quite manageable as well. I think often these middleweight adventure bikes are bought to be used off-road, but also bought for their benefits of being sort of dimensionally a smaller motorcycle and easier to handle. In today's world, some of the larger modern adventure bikes are very big and can be often a bit too much for some people. So yeah, a really nice weight, 208 kg. Okay guys, into a few of the technical specifications. So the new Transalp has a nice looking TFT, not as big as on the Honda Africa Twin. Compared to its competition, for instance, the T7 has that sort of vertical dash, which does look really cool, but I think on the new Transalp, it's a nice sort of original standard landscape TFT dash. It comes with a fair bit of tech actually. It's got full phone connectivity, which is quite an important thing for a bike of this style, so you can get your navigation, music if you listen to music when you're riding, text, emails, whatever you like. I like the way they've specced out the new Transalp with a nice bit of modern technology. They haven't gone for the T7 vibe of just stripped down basic raw off-roading. They've added a few little extra creature comforts to the new Transalp, which makes it nicer for longer distance touring on the road, etc. So on top of the phone connectivity and the nice dash, you've got 4 rider modes, ride-by-wire, 4 rider modes: sport, standard, rain, gravel, and actually a bonus, user. So then you can configure various things in the bike in that user mode. So there's 4 levels of engine power adjustability, 3 levels of engine braking, you can manually adjust yourself, 5 levels of traction control. It also has wheelie control, and you can also switch off the ABS on the rear. So if you want to do nice big skids when you're off-road, or just have a little bit more control off-roading, you can switch that rear ABS off, which is nice. So there you have it, a brief look at the new Honda Transalp XL750. Let's hope it starts off with as popular as the original Transalp. My overall thoughts, at first, if I'm being completely honest, didn't get me that excited. Maybe a little bit bland, didn't get me that excited. However, having gone to the show, Motorcycle Live at the NEC a few days ago, having seen the bike in person, slightly changed my perspective. I do like the look of the bike, really like it. It's got nice lines to it. I think it looks very nice. I love the different paint schemes. They have the white, blue and red, looks very nice, but also the silver. They had a model at the show fully specced out with the panniers on the rear, engine guards, fog lights up the front. Looks very nice and ready for an adventure when it's fully specced out. Proof's in the pudding, we need to ride it, but yeah, this is one I'm really looking forward to, hopefully the beginto of next year, to get a ride on and test out Honda's new parallel twin engine, as well as all of the other features the Transalp has to offer. Many thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next vid. Ciao Bella.